My gosh, what a beautiful day it is wherever you are. It doesn't matter if there are gray skies up above you or if there are blue skies shining down. Wherever you are, it is great. And we are coming live to you here on this Saturday. Happy weekend, everybody. If you're watching on the weekend, if you're catching us on a Monday, well, we apologize. There's no way around that one. But joining us is John Golf. He is a writer, especially over travel and leisurely sort of things to do, hobbies and such, over on That Park Place. John, this is your second time. The previous video we did together, we actually reviewed the Opryland Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome back aboard.
Thank you very much. Happy weekend, everyone. It's great to be back with WDW Pro.
There we go, with the one and only Mr. Golf. All right, so Mr. Golf, one of the things that people love so much about your articles is just the positivity that you bring to everything that you do. I mean, you are really sort of a ray of sunshine out there. I don't mean to blow smoke or anything, which would be the opposite of sunshine, but honestly, you really do a great job of making the day better when people get to read your articles. One of the things that I like, too, is that you'll put out a happy, good news kind of thing at least once a week. And so all of that's really appreciated. Can you tell us a little bit about your new endeavor, though? You've been exploring the fun of barbecue, I believe. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. Let's just say my last venture that I had at a previous workplace, there was a gentleman there that was always talking about smoking meats. And it was like, you know what? I've always enjoyed smoked meats.
Right.
So,
I've always enjoyed eating this stuff. So why not make it, right?
Why not learn how to make it for myself? And maybe even for family and all that good stuff. So I guess it was probably right around my birthday. I had told family members, instead of getting me your normal gifts, if you all wouldn't mind, I would appreciate it if you would get me gift certificates to Bass Pro Warehouse so I could go get me a smoker. And they loaded me up. I was able to go over to Bass Pro Warehouse and get me a Masterbuilt electric smoker, and figure that was probably the best smoker for me since I was just beginning. And it's a lot easier to deal with, to control the temperature. And so I did that. And then, of course, as soon as I took it out of the box, I had to season the smoker. And of course, I did an article on this and did some videos to go along with it for That Park Place. And anyway, got it seasoned, and I believe I've been cooking on it pretty much every weekend. And
well, I would say that's a success then, huh?
Well, let's just say that not everything has turned out like I had hoped, but it's been a fun experience, and I've learned from it. And it always seems like the second time I do something, it always turns out better. So it's really been a great endeavor for me.
Well, now there may be some people out there who are tuning into this video and they're thinking, what in the world? I thought this was the Disney news guy. But actually, we need to be careful, because if we always do videos on that topic, then YouTube will eventually just think that's all we are, and none of the other stuff will get out there. But one of the joys of working at That Park Place is that it covers all the news that should be fun. And we're tied in with that website, and we're happy to have that sort of a situation. And so I want to read from an article that you did this on February 1st called "Smoking a Brisket for the First Time, Getting Ready for Spring Barbecue." And it says, "I have shared on multiple occasions that I love to eat. I've also shared that I love smoked meats. I've found myself over the years gravitating to people that share the same interest." And it goes on to talk about how you got to experience sort of cooking this particular cut of meat for the first time. And it's just a really cool article. I recommend people go and check it out. And not only that, but, well, would you look at that? There is a YouTube video that you've put out on your channel now, just getting started on YouTube, but you've got a video out that walks people through the process of you as a first timer, right, of a rookie learning how to smoke brisket. So tell us now, you did an article on it. How did it turn out? Was the brisket any good?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was much better than I had anticipated. I was expecting failure on the first time, and but what was nice is that I've done my research. I've watched plenty of YouTube, and there are a ton of YouTube videos out there, ladies and gentlemen, that if you're not 100% certain on how to even get started, just type in what you're looking for in YouTube and you can find it. But I found some that folks are, and I typed in, this is my first time smoking a brisket. What do I need to do? And it's amazing. I watched the first 10 and almost every one of them were very similar. So I took the basics of each one of those 10 videos and came up with my own way. And so it turned out great. I mean, it took 6 hours in the smoker to begin with, and then I wrapped it in foil, put a stick of butter on top of it, put it back in there for another 6 hours into the smoker. And then, so this is 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm taking the wrapped up brisket and I wrap it in a towel and I put it in a big Yeti cooler and let it sit for 3 hours. I got up the next morning, and as I'm pulling that towel up out of the cooler, I can feel the meat just bending so softly. And I was like,
I feel sorry for everybody who's hungry watching this video right now.
This is going to fall apart on me.
God bless anybody who's trying to diet while watching this.
Well, if they're on a keto diet, this is right up your alley.
There you go.
Fantastic.
All right, so John, you told us about how some things have gone really well, some things have not in terms of barbecuing, smoking these meats. Can you tell us what have been your favorite things so far that you've done?
Well, my favorite and what I feel like is the easiest thing for me that will also feed me pretty much for a full week is the Boston butt. And, again, I watched a lot of videos on it, and most of the smokers in Texas will tell you that brisket is their favorite out in Texas, but their second favorite is a Boston butt.
And tell everybody what the Boston butt is. That kind of sounds weird to somebody who's not into this, I would guess.
Well, I want to say it's part of the shoulder.
I think
that
so,
it would be back around the butt, but it's not.
It's poorly named, right?
Exactly right.
Might sell a few more if it wasn't named the butt.
But probably shouldn't be using that word. However, it's probably has the least amount of fat content in it compared to a whole picnic, which is really a whole shoulder. And there's a lot of fat content in it. There's some in the Boston butt, but it is so easy to smoke, and it doesn't require a lot of work. I pretty much take a Boston butt and I'll cover it in mustard, and then I will put all kinds of seasoning. I mean, a heavy dose of seasoning, and I like to use the Kendrick seasoning. I think that I bought it at Academy. I think you can buy it at several different places, but I also follow him on Instagram and also on Twitter, just so I can watch him cook things. And he's great. I'm not even sure what his full name is, but I just know it's Kendrick's seasoning.
Gotcha. Now, you're just getting started in this, and maybe some of the viewers out there are getting a little excited and say, well, you know what? This sounds like something I could get into. Maybe for this spring, I'd like to start trying to barbecue by smoking different meats and vegetables and whatever. What are some tips, some tricks that you've learned getting started that you would tell to a brand new individual just beginning to get their feet wet in this?
Well, speaking from experience, and as someone that is just learning to do it, read up as much as you can. And when I say read up, I would go on the internet and I would find on Twitter, find your best barbecuers. I would also go on YouTube. YouTube is such there is just a wealth of knowledge on YouTube. You can type pretty much anything in there, but when it comes to smoking meats, there are a lot of folks that are out there videoing what they're doing. And what I love is that some of them do such a great job of explaining it. This is why you do this, and this is how you do it. So the why going with the how helps ingrain it in my mind that this is the best way to do it.
I see. And, I know lots of people have their own preferences on what kind of wood they use. Some people use charcoal as well. What's your opinion on the types of woods that you've liked so far using with smoking?
All right. So with me using the electric smoker, there's just a small little tray that we have to use wood chips. And I have found that the Jack Daniel's barrel, it's the old barrels that have been chopped up. It produces the best smoke flavor. And I would say the next one, I love hickory. There's something about the taste of hickory smoked meats that, well,
I would suspect that the cost of Jack Daniel's barrels would be more than just random hickory wood chips. Are they differently priced?
You would think that it would be, but for the most part, it's going to be very comparable to your hickory chips, your mesquite chips. They might be just a slight bit more than the others, but it's going to be very close.
All right, and you mentioned that some things had not gone well with it. So what's one of those uh-ohs that you had?
I would say probably the first time doing a Boston butt. I think that they recommend that you get an internal temperature of somewhere between 170 to 190 is ideal.
Okay.
I think I had the smoker set at about 225 it just kind of fluctuated from 225 to about 240, my first couple of times. But the first time I did the Boston butt, I believe I couldn't get my internal temperature up to the 180 mark. I was really shooting for the 180 mark. I didn't get it to that point, so I took it out, put it in the oven, let it go in the oven for, I guess I probably left it in the oven for about 4 hours at about 250 degrees, and came out, just fell apart on me. And I was like, okay, this is fantastic. It turned out better than I had hoped, but it still was not, I wasn't able to pull out the bone with ease I have since.
Gotcha.
I know that the true test for me now is that if I can pull that bone out without any kind of problem, I've got some very tender and well-smoked meat.
Now, everybody who gets into barbecuing, whether it's ribs, whether it's seafood, whatever it is that you enjoy cooking, smoking, etc., it seems to me that everybody I've talked to who's into that, they all have their favorite sauces. So, and I see by the look on your face, you've got some favorites. Tell everybody what it is that you recommend. And I'll say before you get started too, just a reminder in case Valiant Renegades out there watching anywhere, Crystal sauce is better than Tabasco. Just saying. Okay, take it away, John. What are your favorite sauces?
Well, I would have to say that there is one that is produced in Louisiana. So a little shout out there to VR. Tiger sauce. He may not care too much for tiger sauce. To me, I found this probably about mid-October, and I was just looking for a good hot sauce. And the motto or their go-to,
I pray that it says something along the lines of it's delicious 100% of the time, 50% of the time. Please tell me it's something like that.
It is unleash the sweet heat.
Ooh, I like it.
So tiger sauce has become my favorite, but I did find one within the last couple of weeks that if you like hot, and I mean hot, okay? This usually scares me off anytime something says ghost pepper.
Oh, no, not me. I love ghost peppers.
Okay. Well, You might want to try this one out. This one I found again a couple of weeks ago, and it's called Melinda's. Again, Melinda, that's with an M. Melinda's Creamy Style Ghost Pepper Wing Sauce.
Wow, what a
Now,
title.
let me just go ahead and say this. The first time I used it very sparingly.
Mm-hmm.
The second time I used it, I thought, well, it wasn't really all that bad the first time, so I'm going to put a little bit more on it. For about an hour, I sat with my mouth on fire, all right?
Right.
And I was sweating bullets for about an hour. So I know that I need to temper myself a little bit with the use of Melinda's Creamy Style Ghost Pepper Wing Sauce.
And don't get it on your hands and rub your eyes later, right?
Exactly right.
Or worse, don't go to the restroom later.
I have not gotten into the rubbing my eyes or anything like that. But let me just go ahead and say, just a little dab will really do you on this one.
Right. Well, I love ghost peppers. It's about as spicy as I want to go. But one of my favorite things to make is in the summer to get fresh ghost peppers from a local farmer's market and then chop those up about halfway down the pepper. I don't really use the top of the peppers because that's where it gets just ridiculously hot.
Right.
But take the bottom halves, no seeds, chop it up very finely, and then I like to mix that with soy sauce, with cream cheese, and smoked paprika. And I think that's just fantastic. It's good
that
stuff.
Sounds good.
Yeah, not bad at all. It makes for a good experience with a chip. You might need a glass of milk to go along with it, but John, as we're talking, I'm just thinking about all the fun that can be had, learning these new hobbies, learning these new talents, doing things that you can share with others. And that's really your forte that you cover on That Park Place is you talk about camping, you talk about traveling to national parks. You really cover all of the experiential things that don't necessarily have to be going to a theme park per se. But one of the things that you mentioned earlier, not in this video, but earlier with me, is that there was a time in your life when you were a theme park fan and yet you did not like roller coasters. Can you tell us a little bit about sort of that life story?
Oh, yes, sir. From the time I was a little kid all the way up until, when I say little kid, all the way up until I'm 12 years old, I've always been terrified of heights. But riding roller coasters, there was just a fear there that I couldn't get over. And my mom, God love her, her rationale to getting me to ride roller coasters was, or at least her logic was, if you don't get on this roller coaster, we're going home. All right. Now, if this is
the equivalent of the sink or swim idea, right?
Pretty much. And we're talking about, we're trying to ride a roller coaster. They're trying to ride a roller coaster at 11 o'clock in the morning. We just got there, and I'm going to be the reason why everybody's leaving the park because I refuse to ride a roller coaster.
No pressure.
So,
no pressure.
No pressure at all. All right. One time we went to Opryland when they had their theme park, and they had a roller coaster called the Wabash. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The Wabash Cannonball.
Yeah, I think you've pronounced that correctly. Yes, the Wabash.
And it did 2 loops where it went upside down.
No, I think it's the Wabash. Wabash.
The Wabash. Okay.
I think so. And for people who don't know, that's from like a 1930s, 1940s folklore song. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
So that's
just inserting that. It makes a lot of sense. I hadn't heard that. I didn't know about that, about the roller coaster. But now that I know it was at Opryland, which is in Nashville, which is the Music City, well, that makes perfect sense why they would name a roller coaster after that. All right, sorry.
Quite all right. I love the backstories on everything. So anyway, I'm standing there. We're there with my aunt and uncle and my cousins, and everybody's willing to go on it. And me, I'm pretty much starting to dig my feet in and say, I'm not riding it. And of course, my mom, using her same logic, said, look, if you don't ride it, we're all leaving. And it's like, okay. And my Aunt Becky, God love her, she is the saint of all saints. She goes, John, come with me. We'll ride it together. And you'll see that all this stuff that's building up in your mind, it'll be okay.
Right.
So I let her talk me into it. She rode beside me. She broke my fear.
There you go.
So from that point on, so if there are any 12-year-olds out there that are watching and scared to death of riding roller coasters, let me just go ahead and tell you, listen to your parents. Everything is okay. Everything will be fine.
Well, that's sort of like a metaphor, though, for much of life, because you can be afraid of lots of things, and sometimes all it takes when you have an unhealthy fear of something, let's say something that's not necessarily going to harm you, but if you've got that fear of it, sometimes it makes all the difference in the world if a friend will go along with you and participate in it. Whatever uncomfortable situation you're in is often made better just by having somebody, go shoulder to shoulder with you and join in and say, hey, we'll do it together.
Well, it really helped me being a dad, going to Disney numerous times while my kids were really small. And I saw my son go through the same fear.
Right.
And that's where I got to practice my Aunt Becky, my inner Aunt Becky, with him and say, son, you're building this up. And just to let you know, it was Expedition Everest.
Well, see, I have that same fear for It's a Small World. For me, it's a small world. I'm terrified of it, but I don't want an Aunt Becky to help me with that one. I'll pass.
Totally
I don't need to see the tiny dolls again.
I think that's totally understandable. That's kind of a nightmare all in itself.
Right.
But Expedition Everest, I think he was probably 8, 9 years old. And we've ridden pretty much every roller coaster in the Disney parks. And for some reason we got up to the front of the line and he was about to freeze. He started to cry. And my daughter, who is younger than him, was looking at him like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
But just talking to him and letting them know that, look, you're building this up in your mind. It's okay. It's okay to be scared. But once you get on this, you're going to see that it's going to be okay. And he got on it. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably one of his favorite roller coasters. By far, the Rockin' roller coaster is the number one roller coaster in my family's list.
Right. Is that for all the world, or is that just for Disney World?
That's for the whole world. I think Rockin' roller coasters are our ultimate favorite.
I got you. We know that's a great life lesson, though, because it's good to have a dad or somebody who is a guide for you to say it's okay to be scared. Because a lot of times the message is it's not okay to be scared, that bravery is the opposite of fear. But that's really not true. Bravery is having that fear and then going forward anyway, trusting that you are the type of person who can handle it.
Yeah, I remember, coaching for so many years and, telling young men that are scared about a game that's getting ready to come up that's really big, you get used to telling them, suck it up, or you're going to be all right. There's no crying in football. And but when you become a dad, all that tends to change. You start looking at your child and it's like, I've been where you've been. I've had those same fears. So let's not be a coach here. Let's actually be a caring adult. And I have found I wish I could go back and coach some of those kids that I did when I first came out of college. Let me just go ahead and throw out an apology right now. If anybody is one of my former players, I could have done a better job of that.
Well, the way that you can atone for it, though, is the next time that you find fresh ghost peppers, which you've admitted are at the edge of what you can handle, if you feel that fear, just go ahead and eat the ghost pepper. You've got it built up in your head. The ghost pepper is not going to hurt you, John. You can do it. You can eat that entire ghost pepper in one bite. It's just in your head.
I think I just might try that, and then I think I'm going to start my own show on the Food Channel.
Right,
Man versus Food.
Right, 8 hours of torture. Favorite. Is that going to be the name of yours?
Well, let's say it again.
8 hours of torture.
8 hours of torture. There you go.
From the mouth to the well. Never mind then, right?
Exactly right.
Oh,
You know,
it'll
they
just be the
probably ought to
screams
start
of a
a-
man in misery from
They probably ought to
behind the
start a
door.
show where they show the after effects.
Oh no, I don't think so. I don't think that should. I think that's never going to fly on TV.
Now, I do remember watching a YouTube video one time of a guy that was drinking, I think he was challenged to drink a gallon of hot sauce.
Oh, I bet you watched what's L.A. Beast?
I believe that's it.
Yeah.
And the end result was not pretty.
Yeah, well, I hope that guy's still doing okay. I haven't seen a video a little bit from him, but I hope he's well. One of my favorite videos is the older guy in Hawaii who he's like trained up to eat the ghost pepper, and then he eats it, and you can tell like he's using all of his meditative abilities and skills to get through the heat, and finally he just gives it up. He's like, I think I got to go to the hospital. It's so awesome.
But see, I don't want to go to that extreme.
No, John, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. Remember, you're building this up. It's too big.
I think the older you get, you start realizing there are some limitations to this.
All right. Well, John, it's been a pleasure to get to have a conversation with you about all these things, about, I guess, just maximizing the joy in life. You know, we don't have to just be in the mundane. We don't have to just be following a pattern, but we can look for ways to make our lives better, whether that's learning a new hobby such as barbecuing, whether that is overcoming our fears, or whether that's being on the opposite end of that and being the kind of person who stands shoulder to shoulder with somebody who's afraid or tentative and saying, hey, I'll go do this with you. We can do it together.
I'll amen that.
Well, amens all around then. And everybody will have in the description below the video, if you go down there, you're going to see that John's YouTube channel is linked there. Go subscribe to him. He's going to be posting all kinds of stuff about his barbecuing experience. He's also going to be posting stuff related to that park place and all of the great articles he does. I can't wait to find out where he's going to be traveling both this spring and this summer. It's always a fantastic time reading his material. So, John, thanks for being here with us today. Everybody, make sure before you go, click the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want to stick it to the algorithms, click it. We're talking about that notification bell, and that'll all be so fantastic if you honor us by doing that. All right, that'll do it for us. John, any final words?
Be blessed and safe smoking, friends.
I love it. All right, catch you later, everybody. Bye-bye.